Okay, Rob, we'll put you on the end of the list after Colin G4KLB. Right, let's get started. Good evening, welcome to the BATC Thursday evening QO100 Net. News this week, we had a BATC committee meeting last night, which was very successful, planning the next CQTV, which we hope to be out before Christmas, and thinking about what's going on next year. The other piece of news is we're going to have a Christmas activity and repeater contest, a combined contest. There will be a prize for the most active repeater group of £100 towards the repeater funds, and there'll be bragging rights for the most active station as well. So that's the news. We have lots of people in the order, so let's try and keep the overs slightly shorter. Good evening, Jason. I'll put you on the end of the list after M0DTS, which I'll type up in a minute. But the first station to take it is Mike, G0MJW, and the BATC Net from GHEKQ.
Right, it is really cold outside, so there's no problem cooling the fire. Right, so good evening. I was hoping to show a nice PC in it and a tuner. The post office has not delivered the so I haven't got it yet. Hopefully see something. Just quickly show you, check with this other camera, show what's going on here. So we Ryde display signal hill, different things going on. Taking up here the BATC streamer, showing things there. Right, let's pass it round. Didn't catch who was next, I'm afraid. Look at the chat and see if it tells me. It doesn't. No, and stuttering. Yeah, sorry. Must have somewhere. Sorry about that. I'll go with.
Just check that I'm not. Yep, I've got audio. That's good. Yes, good evening, everyone. From DQH. A little bit different tonight. You've probably noticed I've put my email address on the chat page. There's a very good reason for that. I have a couple of power supplies. They're brand new, unboxed. This is 48 volts at 20 amps, 1000 watts. And this one, unfortunately, is going to a colleague at work who's a radio ham, and I'm taking that into him tomorrow. So if anyone's interested, I've got another 3 of these, but not with me at the moment. And the other thing are these. They were designed to charge 36 volt batteries, and it needs 5 volts to switch it on. But they're going back to be modified so that they don't need to do that, unless someone can tell me different, that's a good thing to have. And this is rated at 36 volts at 16.7 amps, but it'll turn down to 24. Okay, so that's that out of the way. And I've got 3 of those, but as I said, they're going to go back to be modded. Also, Maureen and I were up in the New Forest on Tuesday, so I'll just put this video on. I don't know where the audio's gone, but there you go. Somewhere we visit quite a lot in the summer. They do cream teas and very nice chocolate cake. So there you go. I'll come down to that one. This was on the walk on Tuesday as well. It's quite a nice day. Very sunny, not cold at all, unlike the week before. And to my right, this is fairly high ground up in the New Forest, and to my right, on a clear day, you can actually see the Isle of Wight. And a couple more shots of the New Forest, looking very wintry at the moment. But and last but not least, the third one. Okay, that's it from me for the moment. Next on the list is G7NTG. This is G.
Right, Lee, give it a second to settle down. There we go. Comes up just pretty quickly. Turn off the audio. And good evening all. I shan't keep it very long because there's a lot of us on tonight. And good evening Dionysius, SV8RV. I was just going to explain about your Ryde, which is coming along nicely. I haven't got the correct Raspberry Pi at the moment, so horrible camera work coming off. Very shaky. There we go. Very slowly. And this shows the method I use for wiring up the Ryde receiver to the internal power supply. No fancy loom, because I've learnt to my cost in the past that if you tie everything up into a nice loom, you get all sorts of RF interference problems. So I just leave the wires floating free like that. Reasonably neat. But I've the expansion board for the GPIO. It's just in separate wires plugged onto the GPIO pins, which works very nicely. Okay then, so very slowly move the camera so it doesn't cut out on me. And not a lot else to report. Another couple of amplifiers have gone out. I've nearly run out now, so I've got to shop around for more printed circuit boards. But I've got enough of the lower power ones, so I'll carry on making those for a while. Anyway, I do believe it's round to Thomas, SQ6QV from G7NTG. Over to you.
Good evening. Good evening, everyone. So it's been a while since I was here, and I was playing with Staszek, Sierra Papa 6 Golf Whiskey Bravo, you all know from this Axis anti-amplifiers, and I am playing with him. He's teaching me. sure is just to say. He's teaching me microwaves on Tropo. So we have built something quite awesome. We have built this station is 1100 meters above sea level in the mountains, and it has band coverage, all bands from 2 meters to 24 gigahertz. So its range is about 500 kilometers, and this is what I've been doing last part of the year. And that's it. So not very big antennas, not very sensitive setup, but very difficult environment. So and quite problematic access for this site. So this is what I'm doing right now. Just playing with stuff that Bison Electronics, you all know, also have. This is 3 watts on 10 gigahertz. Very pretty module. It's just now online on eBay, so you can buy it. I just bought so much of this stuff, so I would like to buy more and more, but money limits. Also, I have bought quite nice GPS DO from Chinese, Samsung one. It works. It's a very good one. And that's it. So playing with playing with microwave still, learning from Staszek. I must learn CW, Morse code, because as you know, I'm really not into the digital world, not really and maybe you don't know this, because I didn't know this before, that all work on microwaves on Tropo is done by CW entirely. So I have super station, and I've just made not even 10 contacts with WSJT. So it's quite annoying. Others microwaves just hate digital contacts at all. I say maybe FT8, and they say bleh. So it's quite funny for me. And that's all. So happy to see you again, and see you.
Right, I hope I'm getting out okay. I've got to admit, I'm still having issues with the audio side here. My audio, when I'm listening to it, is breaking up. I've noticed a couple of other stations breaking up as well. I'm assuming it's my receive system that's probably not up to par. I've also had a few issues with the ports down over the last few times I've been on. Each time I come on, I have to put the gear away, and when I get it out again to use it and I go into transmit, the ports down seems to lock up for me. It says it's transmitting, but the transmit LED doesn't come on. There's no power coming out, and pushing the transmit on the screen won't turn it off. The only way I can get out of that little issue is to push the shutdown button and do a restart, and then it seems to work. On the other way, I've got the Ryde working. I'm not using it at the moment. It does work. I'd like to thank Dave and Tim for advice on the forums. It does seem it was a corrupted download that was all causing me the issues. So it does work. It's just been put away at the moment. I've got a case. It just came yesterday from RS, and I'm going to have to get round to cutting it up and fitting the push button controls and trying that. But as I say, I wonder if anyone else would like to comment on my audio. For me, when I listen to it through the mini tuner I'm using at the moment, it is breaking up. So I don't know what the cause of that is. It's the Easy Cap I'm using, and a JVC camcorder as the source there. Anyway, I'll pass it back.
One, two, 1, 2, 1, 2. Right, okay. Right, apologies for that. I had it muted somewhere. Right, okay. Good evening all. Not too much to report this end. Still working extremely long hours. Something to do with this thing coming up in a couple of weeks' time, and the fact that everyone's sat indoors, bored, ordering stuff. So anyway, I won't dwell too much on that. Good to see you today, Tom. Yeah, it looks like some really interesting stuff up there, to be honest. I get so frustrated where I live because I can't really put anything up, and the XYL is getting more and more frustrated with me because of the stuff I'm doing, and the radio seems to be multiplying, and so on and so on. And anyway, such is life. For Bernie, who's come up next, this turned up fine, not a problem. And what does appear to be, if I get this right, right, you can probably hear that. Start coming. Right, there we go. So everything's working fine. My old kit appears to be compatible, so that's good. And I've been looking through some bits and pieces. So there's a Fresnel lens, which is actually, if I get it just right, hang on, there we go. But it's quite a high quality lens, that one. So in fact, you really want to be looking at my eye. So I've got one of those. A friend of mine gave me a old projector, so it was completely duff, but there was lots and lots of optics in it. So I've managed to get a few bits out from that, including wherever it is, I don't know why it's going to come up. Yeah, you can see that. It's a red filter, so that should allow me to do daytime stuff. So with that, and it's a big group, I'll pass it round to Bernie. Cheers and stay safe. Bye bye.
Evening everybody, G4XJW, just changing over to H264, so sorry for the delay. See if I come up yet, there we are, so I shall go on to the other. It's nice to see that, John, and yeah, I hope that works okay. The red filter you shouldn't really need much, because I noticed the red LED as a detector is very much more sensitive around red than elsewhere. So when you first take the thing outside compared to an optodiode, you think, oh, the receiver's not very sensitive, but that's what it is. It is sensitive to red, but fairly fine. Now whether there's red and red, which there is, and whether it's so sharp that other people's red LED will be a few dB down, I don't really know, but I'll be interested to see how we get on with that. Hopefully Noel got his as well. And I sent 4 off to Marek, SP4DLF, this week. He wanted 8, and I'm not into mass production. And I've got about, I guess I've got pretty much 10 left, but I'm running out of LEDs, I'm afraid. And I only got that one back, so I'm just starting up again after a few years not doing much with that. I'm just starting to buy in LEDs just to see if I can find some that are equally sensitive. But what was nice about those 10mm ones is that the beam width is quite small, about right for a lens. I don't know what it'll be like with that one you just showed. Might be a little bit over illuminating, but too much detail really. Can't beat just getting out there and having a bash, I guess. In order to try and keep things quick, I'm going to start on my notes straight away. Oh, one thing I did do, I've only been getting 8 dB MER on the beacon when there's nobody else on with my LED. I was going to have another go setting up the dish, but by chance that day I'd had another cheap LNB turn up. I don't know whether that will show up. I don't have the other camera. You get the idea anyway, seen one, seen them all. I thought I'll just put that on and see what it's like, and straight to 10 dB, whereas the other cheap Chinese one is absolutely fine. In fact, it's very good on Region 2 Sky Dish, so I assume it's beam width on all of these. And I don't know if anybody else has noticed, and probably it's been mentioned a lot of times, but I notice now they don't bother to say, well, it's phase lock loop. And it was the cheapest one I could get, it's about £6 I think. And it says Opticum rather than Optagon. And I've had some of their stuff before, but that's the second in a row that didn't say phase lock loop, but actually is. So I'm very pleased with that. That's really good. So I don't have to do any more with the dish. That's a 1.2 metre dish. But I do notice tonight, although I get, I'm only getting MERs in units of 1 rather than 0.1s, and I never get worse on the beacon than what you're saying on on Hilly. But on narrow bandwidths I get a lesser figure, which I'm noticing tonight. I can be 2 dB down, so I've no idea why that is. What was I going to say? I was going to say about Nick, your audio. It was fine, it was dropping out, but the dropouts were so quick that it didn't change the readability. So I mean, I know it's nice to have it running perfectly, but I really wouldn't worry too much about it, because, as Mike said on the streamer there, it was perfectly, not on the streamer, on the Pure Nearly text, it was perfectly okay. So that was good. Right, I'll leave. I've got something else to say on optical about Stuart, HCYW, but I'll leave it to the next over since we're trying to keep things short. So it's on to you, Noel, and see what you've been doing. If you've got any further with the optical, just go back to the, we'll have that test card back up. I did that was especially for you, Noel. I know you like these old ones, and have you all worked out what the background is? It's a fairly easy one, but it should be familiar to anyone who's over 85 and 90 years old. To you, Noel, G8GTZ, G4HJW.
Evening all. Not much to say really, not much going on. Well, it is actually decorating and wallpaper has been the focus this week. I don't know why, I seem to have got into a cycle of it and can't get out, but at least the room is now finished, but wallpapering has been where it's at this week. As soon as we're on the optical theme, it hasn't actually moved much. No, actually that's not true. We had our first QSO across Tesco's car park the other day. Dave G1EHF bought one of the burner units, and I got delivered here, so I handed it over to him. We were single people meeting outdoors, and we took the opportunity to have a quick QSO across the Tesco's car park. So that's that. Yes, it's still there, along with a certain 10 gigahertz transverter. John, you may recognise it. Gonna have yet another go at resurrecting it. The only other thing that's happened is I've got a lens has been delivered from China, which the idea was to use it in the end of the telescope type thing on the Finningley. That does strange things with my hand. That's interesting. Anyway, there we go. So yeah, not much happening here radio wise at the moment. So I'll pass it on. It goes to KLB. So over to you, Colin. HGTZ and the BATC Net.
G8GTZ, G4KLB. Okay, thanks a lot, Noel. But, yes, I struggled a little bit with audio on the mini tune, but the Ryde has been absolutely fine. So there's a bit of a common thing there. But I've had issues with audio myself. I'm using a Portsdown 2020 now. I was planning to get the Portsdown 4 operational on TV. I've been mainly using it for the Langston arrangement, and if I just I'll just swap the voltage over. I've been mainly doing radio this week rather than TV, which is a bit bizarre for me, but don't normally do quite so much. But I've been working on I'm going to see if I can move this camera. It might all go horribly wrong. I can't actually see my own picture now because I've just changed the voltage. This camera might reach It might reach, it might not. Here we are. So we've got a Portsdown 4 that's running the Langston. I can't see where I'm pointing this camera, so it'll be hopefully be somewhere near, and it might even focus on occasion. Incidentally, to Bernie, if I use the I'm just changing the subject. If I use the EasyCap, I've had some issues, but I've switched to using for audio one of these cheap dongles here, which they cost just a few pounds, and that's the sort of recommended one for the Langston. But it works really well. It's what I'm using now. Actually, there's another one using on there, and then I just have it set to USB mic on there. So that's that's how that works on this well, relatively ancient Portsdown now. So hopefully it's still going out. It doesn't really like me waving this camera around, but we've been working on this, and you can see there's the Langston. It's doing the QO100. You can see probably by the frequency there. And we've been working on using the mouse emulator, which you can see is working really well. I'm not going to bother putting the audio on, but you get the idea anyway. So that's working really well. And what that's using is this this little Arduino thing here, this Pro Micro. If you can see that, I can't see where I'm putting the camera, so hopefully it's somewhere near. Just following the instructions that were put up for that. And I've found I've used one of my Ryde boards to do the buttons. You can see if you push the middle one, you get the lock comes up, and so we're just using that just as a quick test. What I was doing is testing this little encoder here to make it look a bit more like a radio, and I found this on Amazon. If you just look up encoders. Optical encoder on Amazon, you'll find one of these. They're not particularly cheap. If you get them from China, they're about £4. If you buy them from, there's a seller in Germany who's got exactly the same thing for 30 something. So I decided I would wait. So just runs 5 volts ground and then the two signals. And I nicked the 5 volts off the USB off the little device here. Then there's ground, and then there's just the push buttons on there. But works a treat. You can see how when you turn it, then it obviously flashes the little light there. But this one is clicky. If you don't want the clicky, you'll have to mod it or go for something else. Lots of encoders will work with this, but I just happened across this one, and I actually quite like it. So it's actually quite good. As you can see, it works really well, and then you can move the cursor over, obviously, on there. So yeah, it works a treat. So we've been actually having a bit of fun listening to the QO100 narrowband thing just for a change. So there we are. I'll make this my only over for the night, because it's been so it's like John. It's been a bit chaotic. I hope that's actually works. I just pinched the aerial out the Ryde to show that, and then 13 volts. Surprising how much you can pick up actually on the wrong polarity. It obviously makes a significant difference, but you can get some things, so not too bad. Right, let's have a quick tune back in then, because now we've gone back to 18 volts. Oh, I'm still there. Oh, that's not too bad. That's all right. I don't know what the audio is like here, but oh, we're all a little bit jumpy now, aren't we? We're all a little bit jumpy. That's waving the camera around's done that. It's not. It doesn't really work, does it? Moving the camera about. So I don't know if you saw any of that or not. But there we are. Anyway, I won't be coming back. I'll be monitoring for a little bit longer. I'm a bit behind schedule. So I thought I'd just put in an appearance anyway. Yeah, it seems to have gone a bit jumpy. That's so it doesn't like me waving the camera around. So all a bit too much for the poor thing. But hopefully we'll be getting the Portsdown 4 going. I'm tempted to try the Pluto on there and see. That's what I'd hoped to have got done by now, but I didn't get around to it. Oh, you saw it. Okay, thank you, Mark. Excellent. That's good. That's all right then. Right, it was over, if I from memory, I think it must be M0DTS next. So pass it back round to him. Okay then. Right, okay, 73 then, and catch you all. Will I be around next week? Let me think, what am I working next week? Yes, I will be around next week, so we should be okay. I've got a few extra shifts to do, and it's going to mess up some of my ATV activity, but it's only for Christmas, so it'll soon be over. Okay, M0DTS to take it. G4K.
Right then, hopefully that's working. I haven't got problems. Hopefully that's working. I haven't got problems. Hopefully that's working. I haven't got. Right, turn that down. There we go. Yeah, apologies there. We had a bit of loop around. Right, let's just mute the audio. Yeah, not very organised here either. Whoops, that ain't working either. We're doing well. Right. Yep, evening everyone. Kind of a bit rushed. Just got back in from work and got some food and that. So, yeah, just got sorted. I normally wouldn't bother coming on, but I've only done 2 days work this week. Then I'm off 2 days and I'm back in for Sunday, Monday for the end of the month. Manic rush. So, busy this end as well. So there we are. Interesting on the optical stuff as usual. I don't know whether I showed it before, but that's my box with the Fresnel lens in. It's kind of changed around a little bit as the time has gone on. Not a great deal, but it's got the scope sight on the top, which has got I've marked on there 5 degrees, because 5 degrees is the view that you see through it, which is very handy. So either side of the centre crosshair, you've got 2.5 degrees. So if you know a certain object on the horizon is 20 degrees off your beam heading, you can basically use other points on the horizon to calibrate where you need to look at. And I used that when I was doing the long distance contact up the coast, 117 odd kilometres, something like that. So it's quite useful to know what the beam width, or what's the technical optical term for that on a scope. So I do have a slider on the back, but that is actually it's stuck at the moment. I don't know why. Anyway, that slides left and right if you want to put a transmit and a receive in and quickly swap between, or quicker. And I've got a couple of screws on the end to set like the end stop at either end, so that it lines up in the horizontal position. Vertical position is a little bit different, but yeah. So that's the kind of fixed setup, and that's calibrated roughly. There's a few little screws that sits on the top, so I can adjust to calibrate that with the where the light is actually heading as well. So it's pretty close to the centre. So that's it for the optical. Just think of the other things. Oh, I've been playing around with. See if I can get this right. Headphones don't really reach over here, but anyway. So yeah, this is my 23/7 analog transmitter. Well, it's an analog solent transmitter with a PA in the back there. Frequency counter on the front, very vintage frequency counter with a 16F84. That was made quite a long time ago. Anyway, it does the job. There's a little pre-scaler bodged on the back of there, but what I've been doing is replacing the brick on the back. I did have a Mitsubishi 57762 which wasn't particularly good for digital. So I've swapped it with the RA brick and a decent board this time. And originally I was using just the bias on the device to adjust the gain, which wasn't exactly the best way to do it. So now I've fitted one of these P4302 attenuators in. So I've now got control of the analog power level, and there's a switch in the center here, SMA relay, which connects RF in from the back external to drive digital into it. So this is my driver stage for my portable and a home, actually, 23 SEMs. So there's a little Arduino sat in there. It takes analog level from the pot at the front, this TX level here, which was just the bias before. Takes that in, it reads the values on the ADC and provides the 0 to 31.5 steps on there. So that's what I've been doing a little bit last week. Trying to think of anything else. Don't want to keep the over too long because there's quite a few people on, isn't there? So yeah, might add a little bit more on the next over. So let me get back to the right page. Yeah, I've just added the QR codes. Right, let me see, where is the list? My word. Okay, it's round to G7OCD. Jason, I think. M0DTS.
Okay, yeah, we did see something very briefly, Jason, but not for very long, that's for sure. There was just a quick blip of signal there. Martin, G4FKK, if you get this, we'll put you up next after me, Martin. Okay, what have we got? Comments? Yeah, Mike, you seem to have problems with your noise gate. You didn't have enough voice to get over the noise. Brian, you can, if you are having audio problems, is it Brian? I can't remember now. Those with audio problems and Minitune, if you use VLC as the player and restart it every time, that gets better. That gets things better with Minitune. The reason Ryde does so well is it uses VLC and it restarts it every new signal. I've been doing a bit more decorating work in the kitchen. I thought I'd finished all that, and then the cooker blew up. I turned it on, and about 5 minutes later it blew the RCB in the house. I thought it was one of my radios that had blown it up, but no, it was the cooker. So that's been today's job, mending that. Got a new element, put that in. Radio-wise, I've been working on the video source. You can just see it going behind me. This is the video source that is already on BATC GitHub. The details of it will be published in the next CQTV. The other thing I've been doing is a calibration unit. I don't know how well you're able to see this. It's a fairly boring die-cast box, it looks like, but stuck on the top of it is a GPS aerial and a Leo Bodnar GPS receiver. Puts 25 megs into the box, and in the box is an ADF 5355. And this switch here switches between all the various frequencies for reference. So it starts at 144.1, so you've got a marker in 2 meters, 432.1, all the way up through the bands to 10368.1, and then it does a third of 24048.1, a fifth of 47 gigs, and a seventh of 76 gigs. Haven't tested the higher ones yet. But that's all GPS locked from that box, and it saves GPS lock in the receivers because you can just put 12 volts into that, stick it on top of the car, get it locked up, and then you know what frequency you're listening on. The other thing it'll do on the little D type here, you can plug it into a ports down 4 signal generator and get any frequency out of it between 54 megs and 13.6 gigs. So that's this week's project to finish, and I'll be writing that up for Microwave Newsletter. It's not really too much TV related. I think Microwave Newsletter is probably the better place for that. Phil XTW asked for an update on the Ryde 2. Well, the Ryde 2 itself hasn't really moved that far. I have the parts, but I've got quite a lot to do before I get to it. The Ryde 2, of course, will be single PCB, single channel receiver. The thing that Mike has been demonstrating is the Winter Hill, which is even further down the line, although they might arrive around the same time. So that's your update there, Phil. Okay, let's go round to Martin, G4FKK, to take it. I'll just put that on in the chat, just in case he hasn't got it. And then we'll let's give Jason another try after Martin. So G7OCD after Martin, G4FKK, and then back to the top of the list again. G4FKK to take it, G8GKQ and the BATC Net.
Okay, G4FKK. Let me just turn my sound down in case that comes back. I don't know if anyone's going to hear or see this because I struggle. I'm running one of those two device Nokia amplifiers, I think, which I've tweaked a bit in the driver stage output so I don't get a huge amount of so good evening all. I haven't been on doing this very long. I've had a couple of QSOs on the satellite, and a nice guy called Dominic in Germany, I think, yesterday. So it's all very exciting. I have a question for him if Jim's listening. D1.6, thanks, you are listening. This amplifier I'm running, I've done some snowflaking on the driver, and that made it put more power out. It's ever so inefficient, it gets very hot. I wonder if with the output stage
Right, that looks like I've made it this time without the Pluto dropping out. Right, yeah, thanks for letting me in here. I'll take these off. I'll just be listening to myself in delay otherwise. Yeah, I like the case, Martin. I'd like a nice job. Yeah, I'm not one for cases very often across the desk, although I did put a bit of effort into boxing up the amplifier, particularly for thermal reasons, to form air through. So I'm looking to change that amplifier in due course. Well, this week I did some tests earlier in encoder on vMix, and I'm now using GPU encoding using FFmpeg. So it's the results of it which you're seeing now, and I'm shipping that out to an external graphics card from my laptop. So I put a GTX 1650 Super in a box, which is then connected into the laptop using the Thunderbolt 3 cable. So there's no display connected to it, it's just a box. Back and shipped over to the Pluto, and I think that's going to be my fixed setup now for vMix on the PC. But I haven't had the chain on the Nano, which I want directly from the A10 Mini into the Nano to use it as more of a kind of portable standalone solution. But now I've got the PC working reliably, and I had H.265 working on that. I sent some full HD on 500 kilosymbols a second to Mike earlier in the week. That seemed to work just fine. Yeah, Bernie, I think you're saying it's not so good on the narrower bandwidth. So just maybe that's some kind of phase noise problem there. I don't know. Probably needs a bit more investigation. And I like Rob's handiwork with his Fresnel lens. Long rather than just the width. Right, so it sounds like it's round to Mike next. GW G7 OCD in the BATC Net.
Okay, hopefully there's audio this time. I'll just listen to myself for a second. Yeah, there is, good. So yeah, the problem was the noise gate, which was on for a different microphone, but I swapped microphones to make the audio better and forgot to turn off the noise gate, so sorry about that. There you go. Yeah, I don't give Rob ideas about putting in graticules. You might well do that. And your video was fine that time, so no problems at all. It was pretty good earlier in the week as well. Seems that FFmpeg is the way to do it. I'm trying to write an article on this for CQTV, and I've been iterating with Noel. There are several different ways of doing it. One is to use a graphics card in the PC. One is to use a graphics card in a laptop. I hadn't come across using a graphics card not on the laptop, but on the end of a Thunderbolt connection. But why not? I suppose if it works, it's a good way of doing things. And the other way is the little boxes, of course, the little Chinese encoder boxes, which work perfectly well and they're quite cheap. So yeah, all good. Right, not a lot to add, but lots of really interesting things on the net. Sorry I'm not upstairs showing you lots of things being built. I've built a few things, including a little ATU, which I was talking to Jason about earlier in the week. And by the way, I ordered some capacitors from DigiKey at the beginning of the week, and they arrived on Wednesday. But the post from Noel hasn't turned up yet, so that's interesting in terms of distance versus time. I did get some post today though, so I'm not quite sure what's happening there. Maybe he didn't send me one. Maybe that's it. But yeah, the Ryde 2 I think is a cut down Winter Hill, and I don't know when that's going to come out. But we're working on a few other things as well, which are going to be quite interesting. Which Noel has got the boards for the prototypes. So lots of interesting things going on the receiver side, and lots of interesting things going on the transmitter side. And I'd completely forgotten the ports down 4 can transmit as well now with the Pluto, so had to add that to the list. So lots of stuff. Right, with that, back to the test card. Not really a test card this time, just a power meter to show how much power I'm transmitting. I'm putting in 18 amps at 12 volts, so it is very, very inefficient indeed, especially when I'm running less than 1 watt because it's in class A. What I have 2 blowers on the top of it. It's a Stealth microwave 50 watt PA, and they keep it nice and cool, and I can't hear it at all because it's at the other end of the house in the conservatory. Everything here is using the Pluto, and I'm watching on the Winter Hill, so that is a remote headless system now, and the Pluto is on the network as well, so everything is remote. So I can operate from anywhere in the house really, via Wi-Fi or via a PC or whatever, which is very convenient. Right, sorry for the waffle. Better put up a test card and shut up. G0MJW.
Now this is G7NTG. Doesn't seem to be working. Turn that off. Right, yes, Mike. Stealth amplifiers. They're running Class A, don't they? They draw enormous power. So not very efficient at all, but extremely linear. So that's really good. And Martin, yeah, give me an email. I can talk about the inefficiency of the one you've got. Show me some pictures and I might be able to make some suggestions for you. These amplifiers are not efficient at that frequency. This morning, it actually just short of 600 watts when I really pushed it at 2.3 gigs. Lovely for moonbounds. And it's about 45% efficient at 32 volts, so you're looking 40 odd amps supply to get that. And I'm using 3 12 volt power supplies turned down to 10.6. They're 33 amp power supplies, and they will actually do 40 amps for a few seconds while you do the test. So I'm risking it a bit, but they're so cheap. They're only about 15-16 quid each, so it doesn't matter if I blow one up. It's just nice to actually try them. I've got one amplifier left. After last week, I showed one last week, the board, and I had 2 people contact me immediately the next day. Please make me one. So one's gone for EME, and the other one's gone for the satellite. So hopefully we shall see them on one or the other soon. Okay, well, enough from me because time is short. So I'm going to pass it on to Thomas, SQ6QV from G7NTG. So
Okay. Works or not? Okay. Okay, works. So this is for JSON. This is this ground mode you need to do. So just a few seconds more of this. And when Bernie HJW said about Marek doing optical QSOs in Poland, I've just have his picture for him. This is Marek and his setup, and his Polish record holder for 31 kilometer QSO with that. There is other team who tries to beat that in my area, because Marek is 700 kilometers apart from me. And at the back, it's my solution to this problem. We will try cloud scattering, and I know red will be better, but I've got white. I've got 1 kilowatt LED modules, and those are 2 of them now. So this should do. This should do some records, and this is how they are lighting. So maybe we will do something with light, but so many things and so many things to do. It's hard to get time to this. Also, there's on the benches one 112 gigahertz board. Those Australian boards with some microwave strip. So. And just to say goodbye to you, it's my last entry tonight. Saying hello for Dionysos SV8R.
Okay, it takes me a while to get into transmit mode here. I really ought to anticipate and press transmit before the previous station finishes there. One thing I've noticed, I've picked up on, I suppose, is something I've not done for a while, and that's a bit of coding. While I was having the problems with the Ryde, I had a look at on GitHub and saw what was there, and I noticed a lot of software is done in C. I did do C a long time ago. I had the Amiga computer at the time. This was in early 90s, and I wrote a programmer called SatTrack, which would track satellites. It would control the rotators. It displayed a Mercator map on the screen, and had little sprites going around, which was the actual satellite position, and it would display the footprint of the satellite, and all that was done in C. It took quite a few years of writing. There was a little bit of assembler in it, and I think it come up to around 50 or 60 lines of code I did, and it's made me think I ought to have a go at doing it on the Pi there. I suppose the next thing I've got to ask Dave, obviously the programs have got to be compiled, so what sort of where do you get the compiler from that you use? Do you do the development all on the Pi for the Ryde that you do it, perhaps today? Do you develop on a different computer like should I have another go at doing something myself on the Raspberry Pi. It's be interesting to know how you go about developing the programs and the software. So that's something for the future there. It's certainly an interesting thing, and I think it would take getting used to again. But as I say, put the meetings at the top. It's Amiga. You think it is not really a computer, but at the time, a lot better than the PC. I remember the terminal we had there. It's a colour. That's all I can say about that. Who is it over to now?
Right, let's hope I've got sound this time. Why does it always take so long for me? Right, that's it, signed. Right, okay. A couple of quick things. I meant to mention it last time, scams. There are loads and loads and loads and loads of scam emails around at the moment. One in particular, which is very, very nasty, comes from the DVLA, except it doesn't come from the DVLA. And there are some other ones which are coming through via text, which reportedly come from the post office or raw mail or whatever else couriers they're using, and there's a surcharge to pay. You pay the surcharge of £1 or £2, whatever it is, then you go to your local office and collect it. As probably most people know, they use small amounts to get lots of amounts. So you send them your details to pay the £1 or £2, and before you know it, your bank's emptied, etc. So just be aware of those. With regards to post, yeah, it's changing very, very quickly at the moment. It's the rate of sickness is going up. Parcels, it's just manic. So unless you're sending something that's tracked or special, you will see delays. At the moment, the regulator are not fining raw mail for letters, but with contractual things like the tracked and specials, etc., then they have to pay out for it, basically. So they give you your money back or whatever they do. So those are being prioritised. But at the moment, sickness is killing everybody. It's been non-stop since last March, basically, and it's just gone beyond now. So yeah, apologies. Anyway, with that, so that's pretty much it, really. So just be careful of those emails and texts that are coming through, and pass it on to others if you can. There seems to be an absolute glut of them around.
like a horn, which was good. Yes, Thomas, Marek. Well, Marek has, I must have sent at least a dozen of the low power transceivers. They're only half a watt to Marek, and he seems to have got a group together. He must be a sort of Pied Piper over there to getting people doing things, rather like Stuart was I should say really, up in the Newcastle area. In fact, my first QSO, my first meeting with GHCYW was when a group of us down here had a holiday up in Cresta, and as soon as Stuart heard, he said, I'll get a load of people together, we'll come along and see you. And there was about 10 of us, and Stuart turned up with 6, 7, 8 people, and we had a lovely afternoon. And then we set up a QSO for the evening. So that was my first QSO, 30 kilometres, which it should easily do. That was 1 watt at my end, and Marek his group should get up to 50 kilometres with what they're using, although if they went up to bigger lenses they would certainly get to that. I mean, with the Fresnel lenses, the A4 size, I've done 60 kilometres with more to spare with those small transceivers, so it's amazing what you can do. And Mike, I've never had to go with other colours because various people kept saying, some were you get absorption and various other things, but of course you really should do these things for yourself. I can think of a number of cases where you find out things aren't quite what other people tell you, so I feel a bit embarrassed that I've not done blue or green or anything else like that. But I do want to do the infrared. The other reason I mentioned seeing Stuart up at Cresta, he brought up, I downloaded a huge folder of all the stuff he'd done, and that was on downloaded to my laptop at the time, which died a bit later, and it was only today, I think it was, or yesterday, I had a look at the hard drive out of that and was looking at some of the short videos, and one of the things he was doing before he became unwell was using infrared so he could work during the day, and he was getting, I don't know, 30, 40, well I think over 40 kilometres during the day with fairly small infrared LEDs. Now all those videos I've got, some of them were UK records at the time, are no more than, well, I would say 10 seconds each. So I could bring those out if anybody's interested and just do one a week. I mean, 10 seconds is worth seeing. That would be nice to do, but I don't want to bore people who are not interested in that. So, post, yes, John and, well, it's a bit late for Colin now, and you said, Rob, about post being delayed, but I've been getting stuff through on various eBay things that's been coming through without a noticeable delay, so maybe we're lucky down here. I don't know what the answer is to that. And the cloud bounds, Thomas, I did a little bit of that at low power, but I'm in East Anglia, and you don't know how the locals are going to behave to a red pointer of light up in the sky. I don't want lynching. So I've had a little go at that, but it wasn't very successful. But your kilowatts is fantastic. I'd be really interested to know if you'll come up and tell us how you get on with that when you get that working. What I do want to do is whisper on cloud bounds. Jenny Deservi Kuwait is 14 kilometres away. 13 kilometres away direct, I suppose. It would be really good to set something up, particularly if I used infrared or something that wasn't obvious to the locals, I could leave that on all the time. So that really is something to think about. And I think that's about it from me. So thanks for the interesting QSO, everybody. Apologies if I've missed anything, and see everybody next week, hopefully. So I think it ought to go on to Rob. I think everybody else between us has signed out now. So on to you, Rob.
I must have jumped on a little bit too quick there. My receive didn't jump to 16:9. Right. Yeah, we'll try not to keep this too long. I can't remember who's on the list or not on the list or next now. I've totally lost track. Right. Too many things to click on. Right. Yeah, it's all interesting stuff this evening. Probably loads of things I should have been making notes of, but haven't. It's funny, John was saying about the spam emails and things. I've just had one from HMRC. Came in about 20 minutes ago or something on the text there, so yeah. Don't click on anything, basically. Don't trust any emails or messages or anything like that. Double check. So yeah. Something, that's what I was going to mention actually. I don't know whether I've got that video or not. Let's just add this in. So yeah, I've been, well, first of all, GB3EY television repeater is now on the air in repeat mode. I can't actually receive it from home or anything, but where are we at? OBS. Yeah, I can't actually receive it from home, but I can detect it, which is very surprising. I was not expecting that at all. The path is about 90 kilometers, and I've got hills in the direction of EY that are about 400 meters high, about 10 kilometers away, so I haven't even got a run up really to get over the top of them or anything. So it's not great, put it that way, but I'll see if this video works. Hopefully the audio will stay on. Okay, why is the video not very big? That's because I've already got pictures set on the top and things. Apologies for this. Right. Okay. Don't know why it doesn't appear very big. Yeah, it's not very good, is it? Anyway, you can see the signal there. It's not very well zoomed in. For some reason, I can't sort of see how big the video is on the preview. But that's the signal from EY, which is about, if you look at the scale, just under half a dB above the noise, which is extremely weak. There's the path plot. You can see it goes along the ridge of the Yorkshire Wolds and then across and goes over the top of the North Yorkshire Moors, so it's quite a bad path. Really bad path actually, so there we are. So anyway, I'm going to do a little bit of work with that because it runs transmit at 1 megasymbol temporarily, and I think 3/4 FEC, something like that anyway. But I've kind of reversed all the calculations and figured that I can run probably over 100 watts into my 3-meter dish here on 333 kilosymbol at a quarter FEC. And that gives us about a 15 dB, roughly 15 dB over what the 1 megasymbol is. So in theory, I should be able to get back in on a good day. So I'll be trying that this next couple of days while I'm off. Monitor the signal, and if it does come up out of the noise just a little bit, start firing some signals at it, which was quite interesting to have a go. What have I missed? Yeah, JT65 is what I tried. Yeah, and there was no subcarrier at all. I was just doing it baseband. There was quite a bit of hum on there, but because you're slightly elevating, the hum is only coming off the clouds and the scatter. It isn't coming off directly on the horizon, which is where you see all the streetlights. So you're only getting like reflections inside the box. With having a slight elevation, it was like 7 to 10 degrees was the elevation I was using at both ends from the transmit and receive, and that gave about the optimum signal I found anyway at about 50 kilometers. So I was using this. Hang on, let me see if this works or not. Right. So it's an old camera pan and tilt head which has now got stepper motors in to kind of make it a bit more remote controllable, with some stepper drivers and a Arduino and a little ESP32 Wi-Fi chip. Yeah, it's very cobbled together. But inside there, it's like shrouded so that the red light isn't particularly obvious. But inside there, you can see there's a lens, which isn't very big. It's only 65 you don't really to the horizon in the air and things like that. The front lens is flat on one um, no kind of like drop resist. Lens. I've got the equivalent of in here somewhere because I got a projector. It's very similar. There we go. That's out of a projector as well. So you see it's ever so slightly curved on that side. This is not the same type of lens, by the way. It's kind of it's like got multiple lenses in. I'm not really sure it must be for spreading the light. But it's totally flat one side and there's a slight curve. There's not much. But it's quite broad. But that was the lens anyway. It's not round, but it just glued on the front of a bit of downpipe, that's all. So it was just a clear version of that without any coloured coating. That has got some coloured coating on it. You can see, I think on that side, yeah, you can see the red in it there. So was that. What else was I going to mention? Yeah, there's loads of filters and things, but that was the only other thing that I played around with a couple of years back. It's a little beacon unit. Ah, will do, Thomas, yeah. So this is a little beacon that's sat at the top of the mast. This has also got a shroud on it. So the red light is it's a 3D printed little shroud that basically pours water into the box if it rains heavy, but stops the red light being visible anyone kind of like nearby and starts wondering what's going on. But that's just a beacon that does, I can't remember what it does now, let's think. I think it does like 1060 hertz tone or something like that. And what there is inside, there's one of the LEDs, there's two little, apologies for the long over here, by the way, I'll shut up shortly. There's two bits of perspex that are machined with a curve on them, and that gives like a fairly broad horizontal beam from an LED. So it's quite useful for spreading it. So it's quite a wide angle kind of beacon. You just roughly in the right direction, and it's quite audible at 20 kilometers. So there's just one LEDs behind there. One's red and one is infrared. So I can put a different filter on either at the other end, and basically the same amount of current is going to each one, roughly. So you can compare the infrared with the red, and I think, let's think. I'll have to double check on the results, but I'm pretty sure the infrared was better, but only because I could filter it better. Yeah. Right, the box. Right, there's the box. So, yeah, I don't know what the fitting is on the front, but it's some sort of edging. You can see the edge there. If that comes into focus, it's some sort of edging from B&Q or Wix or somewhere that I picked up, and the lens slides into that, and it's just screwed on the front. So that's what it looks like. There's a mounting bit on the bottom where it mounts onto a bracket, and then there's a slider on the back with two bits of rain downpipe that everything slides into. So there's actually a red filter, blue tacked on the top there that I was playing around with last time, I presume. But anyway, that's probably enough for me. So, round to Jason.
G4FKK and the net. G8GKQ. Yeah, this is Loud Dave again. Right, very interesting net tonight. Lots of good content there, so I don't mind the overruns with that. Couple of minor points. Frequency reference, yes, looks really good there, Martin. Mine go essentially put the frequency reference on top of the diecast box and then use the ADF 5355 in the same way as you've used the SI chip there. I don't think there's anything more for me to comment on. I can't talk about optical, haven't done any of that for many a year. But thanks all for coming on this evening and for the reliability. All went really well tonight, I thought. And look forward to seeing you all again next week. Talk about the Portsdown, says Mike. I'm not. I haven't done anything on Portsdown for years, Mike. So G8GKQ closing the BATC net, leaving the frequency clear for all comers. Good night all.